Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Fanzone Debate. We are here for our opening season title picture, match number 2 of those matches. We got Richard Schwartz going up against Joe Farrelly on the desk or on the judge's seat with me today. We got Brian Michaels. Brian, how are you doing? Thanks for being here.
Doing great. Glad to be back to start off another season.
Yeah, and Mark is here. He is chilling with us from the office of a Denny's. Mark, how are you doing?
Okay. Didn't know getting off a Denny's vibe. All right. I think this is I don't know if this is the first match or whatever the first match I had done. I don't know. Like it's fun to be back.
Technically, I believe this is your second match, Mark, because you're helping out Mrs. Michaels on the first match of the season. So, so just haven't shot it yet. But this is going to be a fun one. We got 2 players here. Richard's been around for a very long time in the debate. This is actually Richard's 10th debate match at Multiplex. Wow. So he's been here for a while, and he has a really as far as the debate things are considered a good I consider it a good record of 4-5. Like, it seems like with the negative record, it's not that great, but you got to think when you've played in as many seasons as Richard has and you only get 1 or 2 matches a season, the fact that Richard's been able to stick around and do well, has a knockout on the record. I think Richard's one of the better underrated debaters we have. He always comes to play. And then we got Joe, who's found a lot of success in a lot of things at Multiplex, but has struggled to find his success in debate so far. He's 2-3, also has the knockout. So both players are in kind of the same situation where they want to get to that 500. They have a shot here to go for a title, and I'm looking forward to it. The winner plays the winner of a match that happened 2 weeks ago between Jack Pinchuk and Brooklyn Vale. So I'm looking forward to this. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to go talk to the players right now. We're going to start out by talking to Mr. Farrelly. Joe, you are here to take on Richard. First off, have you ever played Richard before in anything? And secondly, just thoughts on the overall match coming back into debate.
I believe we have played against each other in some things. It has been a long time that I forget what that might have been. But it's good to be back. I think that last one against Nazario, it went to the speed round, and it went to, I think it was just a couple of points if I'd made. I think could have flipped it, but this is always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to bring in Richard Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz, welcome back. You are here to take on Joe. Like I said, you are one of the players that has been around in debate the longest. You always come and put up a great fight, even in your losses. I can't say if you've ever been knocked out, but I would guess probably not.
I've been knocked out by Cody.
Okay, was that 3 out, 3 in, 3 out?
I think it was 3 out.
He's the champion for a reason.
If you're going to do it to somebody, yeah.
If you're going to do that to someone, yeah, absolutely. So, Richard, you're going up against Joe today. Now I'll ask you, did you ever play Joe? And,
I have played Joe in Geek, and I believe I lost because Joe is just a beast when it comes to Geek.
That wouldn't shock.
I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure I have because we've been in multiple leagues together. Yeah. Like, I respect Joe tremendously. Like, when it comes to like trivia, anything movie related, he's such a good dude. And I'm gonna be trying out a new tactic today. I'm going to be slowing my words down because that's been my biggest problem. Is I try to talk too fast because of the time limit. So we'll see how it goes. And best of luck to Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is how this is going to work. There are 4 prep questions that the players are going to debate tonight. We gave them questions based off of the categories that they drafted, 1 from Fandom, 1 from Melee for each. They are going to get 1 minute to open their arguments and a 5-minute free form where they will debate each other, followed by a 1-minute closing. At the end of that debate, Brian, Mark, and I will write on our handy-dandy boards who we thought won the debate. 2 out of 3 votes wins you a point, and the first player to 3 points will win the match. So, Joe, Richard, any questions as we get into it?
No, just good luck, Richard.
Good luck, Joe.
Let's do it. I shockingly have not watched the show, Ted, yet. But I will be telling you that I will be scouring that thing for clips to use in this. I've been really busy, Brian. It's on my to-do list. I'm in the middle of Fargo right now, and I need to finish that first. So, all right, here we go. The first question was drafted by Richard, as he is the higher-ranked player, and the question comes in the category of the Wizarding World. The question is, what is the best magical object in a Harry Potter film? We did give them the caveat of no wands and no Deathly Hallows. So they had to pick something that wasn't a wand or a Deathly Hallow. So, Richard, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute to open your argument. When you start talking, I will come in to give you a 10-second warning when the time comes. So 1 minute when you start talking.
When it comes to the Wizarding World, like there are so many objects that can be considered the best. There are brooms, there are polyjuice potions, there are the flu powder. Everything to a Muggle would be amazing. But I chose what I think is the best magical object because it's been in the best films of all time. It is the Time Turner. It involves time travel. You have many aspects you can do with time travel. You can do a lot of things with time travel. You can have more experience. I think the Time Turner can not only help you in real life, but if you were in the Harry Potter world and you had to fight against other evil people, I think the Time Turner would be the best suitable object in the Harry Potter film. And I will go on when the debate actually starts. I concede the rest of my time, like always.
All right. We will bring in Mr. Farrelly. Joe, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
Rich is right. There are a lot of options when it comes to the Wizarding World and the magical objects within. But I went for the vial of liquid luck given to Harry in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. It's a potion that makes all of your endeavors successful. Sounds risky, sure, but thankfully it's notoriously difficult to make, meaning that success still has to be earned. Not only does Harry use it to finally get the truth about what Slughorn told Voldemort, and which allows them to obviously go on to find the Horcruxes and destroy them and eventually kill him, he also simply uses the idea of it to help Ron get through a Quidditch match. And I think that is what sets it apart from anything else. Everything else is useful and is used when it's used. Everything else is, handy when it's used. But the liquid luck is handy even when you just think it's been used. And I think that's the best option. It's just the idea of it is powerful.
Time. I see nobody went for the Weasley's flying car. Okay. Guys, you have 5 minute free form when one of you starts talking. I will throw up the 1 minute warning when the time comes. If I feel like one of you is talking too much or even going on about something that's not relevant, I'm going to throw up the let's move on. And if I feel like you're even still being awful, I'm going to throw up the let your opponent talk thing. If you're still being terrible after that, I will send Nick Twohig to your house. So don't make me do that. Guys, you get 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
Well, firstly, just for Tim's point, the invisibility boost is faulty, so we'll go off that. But when it comes to liquid luck, if all your endeavors are successful, you don't need a time turner.
Well, here's the thing about the liquid luck. First of all, it doesn't necessarily, it's guaranteed for the person. But if you're in a battle with other people, like with your friends involved, it doesn't protect them. It only protects the person who actually uses it. And what also makes it not the best is it does become increasingly first of all, it's a limited time, but also it is very toxic. If you keep using it over and over again, it will eventually kill you. And it gets very addictive, like cigarettes, nicotine, and the effects allows it, like it also makes the user who drinks the liquid luck very kind of cocky, and it could hurt the other people surrounding them.
I mean, this all depends on what your endeavors are. If your endeavor is to keep all your friends alive in the battle, then of course your endeavor will be successful. I think the thing with the time turner, Hermione says it herself, dangerous things happen to wizards that meddle with time. It's well established that liquid luck is notoriously difficult to make, which means although you're having that success, you still have to earn that success.
Well, with the time turner, it won't change anything dramatically, because what happens in the future, in the present, always happens. Because just like when they in the third movie, Harry's the one who threw the rock at Harry. Or no, Hermione's the one who threw the rock at Harry, the future and the present. So it already does affect. If you know what I'm trying to say with that, like when they used the turn timer to go back in time, Hermione was the one who threw the rock at Harry, which you saw previously in the film. So it already happened. It was already
So
will
they
happen.
didn't change anything.
Exactly, it didn't change anything. Whereas
So
Liquid
what's the
Luck,
point of it?
it's the point is you can multitask. What's the best is like what Hermione did the whole third year is she can take multiple classes. And if you're in school, if you wanted to take multiple degrees, you can 100% do that with the time turner. Liquid Luck is really only a one-time use unless you're able to completely make it in 6 months. And it's very hard. Like you said, it's extremely hard to make. And if you mess up, it could actually kill you. Like you have to be exactly. You literally need Liquid Luck to create Liquid Luck.
Yeah, and I think that the thing is, we say it's a one-time use. We only see them really use the time turner once. I know we see Hermione turn up in classes, and that's the thing. The best, something that is the best, it also has to be kind of cool. You know, Liquid Luck, use it for sport and defeating bad guys. Time turner, what? Use it for school purposes, getting into more classes and saving giant chickens.
If you're using Liquid Luck to use sports, you're cheating, and no one in the Wizarding world, like especially as a person morality, wants to cheat. Like it's such a good any normal good person wants to, no one wants to cheat. And also, if Liquid Luck was so valuable, how come Voldemort didn't use it? Like Voldemort knew the risk.
How come they didn't use the time turner to defeat Voldemort? We can have that debate all day long, and it ends up in the same answer. The difference
because with the Voldemort, the time turner, like the original time turner in the movies, you can only go up to like 5 hours. That was like the most like the newer version of the time turner in 2020 in the Harry Potter canon. You're like able to go back as far as you want. It's all canon. It's all canon.
Sorry, we're talking about movies, and that's never stayed in the movie. The best object in a Harry Potter film, the time turner is only used that one time. They couldn't use it again. Like they don't use the Liquid Luck.
And they saved Buckbeak, and they saved Sirius Black.
You talked about the cheating in sports. The thing is, they don't actually use it cheat. Just the idea of it. That's what's so cool and so great about Liquid Luck. Just the idea of thinking you've used it. Your endeavors are successful.
That's just no. It's just that has nothing to do with Liquid Luck. It was just confidence. Liquid Luck had no effect when Ron thought he had drank Liquid Luck. It was just he had confidence, and that made him better. That
because
does not
of the
make
idea
Liquid
of
Luck itself.
Because of how great it is.
That's like saying the idea of time travel will make things better in the future. That maybe someone went back in time doesn't necessarily mean they went back in time.
I'm not saying they use the liquid. I'm just saying the idea. That's the thing. The having it. Just the having it.
The thing about time turner is, unlike Liquid Luck, as long as it's functional, you can keep on using it over and over again. Liquid Luck, you can only use it. It's one and done unless you're able to make it, and it's extremely difficult. And Harry literally had to cheat to make the Liquid Luck to begin with.
You can't use the time turner over and over again.
Yes,
Hermione said it herself. Bad things happen.
Hermione has been using it the whole year for the third year. She was using it the whole year. She even admits it in the movie. She used it the whole third year.
To get to classes.
So she can't use it multiple again.
To get to classes. Not very useful.
Multiple
time. All right. Joe, we're going to start with you. Joe, you have 1 minute to close your argument when you start talking.
I think the benefit of Liquid Luck as opposed to a time turner, mainly that if you use the Liquid Luck, your endeavors are already successful. You don't need the time turner if you have Liquid Luck. Liquid Luck trumps the time turner in that respect, And just in talking in terms of the film and how we see it being used, it is used to gain that information, which is used to defeat the villain in the end. Great use. And then, as I said, the idea of it itself, just the idea of thinking that you've used it, allows you to have success in your endeavors. Time turner sounds like a great idea. It does. But the thing is, the way it's used, the way in which we see it being used in the movie, gets us some more classes and not really change anything because it's shown, like the rock hitting Harry, all that stuff, that already happened. It's all messed up. It's all confusing. Liquid Luck is simple, elegant, powerful, and that's why it's the best.
I hate you, Joe. It's confusing. All right, that was funny. All right, Richard, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
The Time Turner is not only great in battle, it's also great in future endeavors. You can take multiple classes in school or college. You can get multiple degrees. You have many options. Liquid Luck is only one and done unless you know how to make it and make it perfectly right. Because if you don't make it perfectly right, it will kill you. If you keep on using the Liquid Luck in real life, it will make it addicting and it will eventually kill you. It will make the user extremely lucky. Yes, that is true, but also can make people around him not lucky because the person using Liquid Luck can be very cocky and put others in danger. And it is also for a very limited time. Only lasts for as long as you have the vial, maybe up to an hour. Whereas the Time Turner, as long as it's working functionally, you can use it as many times as you want, and you can use it for many usage. And that is the end of my ending statement. Because I see Tim.
Okay. Ending 5 seconds early. We're gonna bring in Brian. We're gonna bring in Mark. Alrighty. Brian is so happy to be here right now.
Unfortunately.
Well, I don't know Harry Potter very well, so I'm just going purely off the debate, and I'm really a toss up for me. I'm trying to figure this out.
Okay. I am ready when you guys are.
Here we go.
Okay. I'm going first. I'm going with Richard on this one. I agree with Brian. I thought this was a toss up, but in a good way. I think both players did well. Richard, I thought we were about to go down a rabbit hole where Joe was calling Richard out for stuff that wasn't in the movies, but Richard backed off it pretty quick and brought up other information that I thought was good. I think that at the end of the day, what did it for me was Richard's closing, where he reiterated the fact that the Time Turner, if working properly, can be used over and over and over again for success. And just because it's going to classes, that doesn't make it like a bad thing. Like, you could go to multiple classes, save yourself in a battle type situation. I thought that worked. I thought that Joe had a lot of good points for Liquid Luck. Like, I think Liquid Luck is a really good point, and actually is one of my favorite moments in the whole franchise is the Liquid Luck sequence. I love the hi. It's great. But I did go with Richard. Brian, where are you going and why?
Yeah, this is kind of a tough one because they're so kind of polar opposites. Because one is to give you luck like before you do something, the other one's to be able to go back in time and change things after they happen. So it's kind of like a toss up there. I thought there was a lot of good attacks on the other people's things. Like, I mean, Joe was talking about how you didn't really change anything, and even Richard reiterated that nothing really changed. After you use Time Turner, but at the same time, with the vial of Liquid Luck. Joe's argument about how you don't even need to use it, just the idea of it gives you confidence, actually kind of hurt his argument from my point of view, because I'm thinking, well, then the actual magical object, it's not the actual magical object, it's the idea of it. It is just the confidence of it. So in the end, I did end up going Richard.
Okay, Mark, where are you going and why?
Yeah, would have been a clean sweep. You went with Richard as well. Yeah, I think you both kind of said it. Like, I think at the end of the day, it just kind of came down to functionality, and just the Time Turner, I think, is something that can be used, I think, more practically than Liquid Luck, just in the sense of like Liquid Luck almost seems like a thing you maybe only use just a couple times in your lifetime. Where Time Turner, like, if you're careful of it, you can just kind of keep using it at your leisure, essentially.
Okay. Well, that's a clean sweep for Richard. With that, we are going to move on to the next question, which was drafted by Joe in the category of horror. And I'm excited about this one. I think this one's going to be fun. What is the best jump scare in a 21st century horror film? Maggie's favorite. So, Joe, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
When I heard this question, there was one scene really that came to mind, and it is the scene in It Chapter 1 where the kids are looking at images on a projector, and all of a sudden one of the images is a woman, and it starts to change into Pennywise, and Pennywise just emerges from the screen. See, I did it quick there. Even then, people jumping. It's such a great scene. The build up to it is so well paced. You know, it's not just, you know, sort of something, the character doing nothing, and then all of a sudden something happens to make them jump, which is something that so many horror movies get wrong, is that using jump scares for the sake of the jump scare. Instead, the build to it is so well, and it works so well with the story and what Pennywise is trying to do, and how Pennywise is trying to get these kids to feel that fear so that he can feed off of it. It's done so well. It works so well for the story. All the kids, you know, do such a great job. It's a great jump scare for the characters, and it is a great jump scare for us as an audience, and I think that's why it works fantastically and why it is the best.
Time. Okay, we're gonna bring in Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I chose Paranormal Activity, the ending scene where Mika gets flown through the doorway into the camera and falls. Paranormal Activity is about Katie and Mika's buys a new house. Katie believes the house is haunted, the same ghost that's been haunting her since she was a child. It is filmed like the Blair Witch Project style, where it's like home video, where you believe it's possibly could be real, makes it looks like it's real. Why I chose this as the best jump scare is because it imitates real life. It looks like it could happen in real life, and I'm going to explain everything during the debate. I'm not wanting to jump in too much as I do in my introduction, so I concede the rest of my time.
Okay. Hey, I like both these movies. Shocker. All right, 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
Yeah, I thought about your scene in It Chapter 1, because I love the It movies. I love the original. I love the book. It's, really gruesome. But the thing is about why I don't think yours is the best jump scare is because it was blatantly obvious that he was going to pop out of the screen. Like, they waited way too long before Pennywise jumped out of that screen.
This is great. I think the problem with the Paranormal Activity, and it's indicative of what's wrong with certain horror movies as a whole, is that the jump scare kind of is so built up within the movie. The movie is a lot of steady, still scene, nothing's happening. Oh, we're going to throw something at you. But instead, with what it does, like I said, it works for the characters, and it builds and builds and builds. It spent the whole time making those kids and making the audience individually scared of Pennywise. This time it gets them all together and it brings it out. So it doesn't just work for the audience, it works for the characters as well. I think that's why it's more effective.
Well, the thing about your movie is it still looks like it's just a movie. People can be taken out because everyone's like, oh, it's a movie. There is going to be jump scares. Whereas Paranormal Activity, yeah, it's slow, like in the beginning, and it gets, gradually builds up halfway through, but that is real life. It looks like it's real life. Real life, not everything happens all at once. And when it comes to the ending jump scare of my movie, there were a lot of possibilities where it could, like, when you hear Katie go off screen, you hear Mika chasing after her, it could be, Mika get thrown against that wall, or Katie goes gradually towards. There were so many endings, but the fact that Mika just suddenly appeared and hit the camera right in front of her faces, it especially towards the end of the movie with like the final jump scare, it could freak us out, because real life, if it looks like real life, that could be the freakiest thing in the world. Whereas in your movie, like I said, it looked like a movie, and there's gonna be jump scares, and it takes audience away from that because everyone knows it's like a movie with the way it looks.
There's going to be jump scares in it. I'm sorry, if you've got to the end of Paranormal Activity and you don't think there's going to be any jump scares, I don't know what planet you're living on. The difference being is that this happens at the end of the movie when there has been a shot of just an empty room for upwards of 30 seconds. At this point you're like, well, it's been a bit, nothing's happened for about 30 seconds. We're probably going to get a jump scare, and that's what happened. But the difference with the It scene is that it starts out creepy. It's building that creepiness, and you think it's just one of those scenes that's, it's going to make Pennywise scary, because what you have happening with the girl in the image turning into Pennywise, like, oh, that's creepy, that's pretty scary. And then the light goes off, and you think, and then it just flicks into life, and Pennywise is coming out of that screen twice the size.
The lights goes off on the screen, but they continue to look at that exact moment, so they didn't even go away from it. They kept it there, so he was going to jump out. like they kept it there for like a good 30 seconds, like not 30 seconds, like 10 to 15 seconds, where you know he's just gonna pop out. Like it'd been even more creepier if Pennywise went from behind and then scared. That would have been a bigger
No,
jump scare than what we got.
I think
And
that's
also
where
in
you.
It. Oh, sorry, go on.
I think that's where you're wrong. The scene has already built. It's already built. It doesn't just stay on a shot of nothing for 30 seconds, so you know that jump scare is coming.
If you
the
want,
difference is the jump scare works. It's not just effective as the audience; it's effective for the characters because it's a jump scare for the characters as well, and it's establishing Pennywise as a threat to the group as a whole.
Sorry, if you want the bigger jump scare in the It movies, it was It Chapter 2 with the girl with the face. I don't know, the face burn. I think it was like a mole or something, where you forgot to count it, and then when Pennywise attacked her, that was a bigger jump scare than that film scene. Whereas, like again, in my movie, The Paranormal Activity, like it's the way it's viewed, home life, and if for the audience who have not seen Blair Witch Project saw this movie and think, oh wow, this could actually be real type of thing, that would freak even more people out. Like when I saw this movie, I was actually kind of terrified going to bed that night, honestly, as someone who was like 25, 26, because it looked real.
But the thing is, like you just said, an audience that hasn't seen Blair Witch Project. So therefore, if an audience has seen it, it's going to be less effective on them. Whereas the difference with it's going to be effective on the entire audience because that's the benefit of it. You know, Paranormal Activity is just jump scares. It's a minute of an empty scene, and then all of a sudden it happens, and it's what's become synonymous with this
even if audience people have not seen the It movies or read the book, if you look at it, it's a movie. People like, especially if you're looking at it, you know there's gonna be jump scares. You know the good guys are gonna win at the end. Like the way for visual wise, people are gonna realize it's just a movie. Whereas mine, like it's a home video. You don't know what's gonna happen. People may not think this is fake. People may think this is actually real. You don't know what's gonna happen in real life because real life is unpredictable, like this movie possibly. That's why it was so slow in the first half because real life it imitates real life.
That speaks more to the movie as a whole, not to the actual jump scare moment. If you've got to the end of Paranormal Activity and don't expect a jump scare, you're wrong. I think this establishes Pennywise as a threat. I think it's a better jump scare. It's more effective.
Time. All right, Richard, you get to kick this one off for the closings. You go first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
I like the It Chapter 1, the one that Joe chose. It's a fun choice. But the fact that they showed it for like 10 seconds when the lights went off, you knew he was going to pop up right there. It was very predictable. Audience, like if you look visually, it looks like a movie. You know it was going to happen. It would have been more like of a jump scare if he came from behind or somewhere else. Whereas in my movie, if you have not seen the Blair Witch Project, honestly, even beside it, it's real life. You don't know what's going to happen. It's the end of the movie. Anything could have happened. They could have lived a happy life. It was a one and done. Like people, I mean, there was multiple paranormal activities, but you don't know there was going to be multiple paranormal activities. It could have been like the craziest thing ever. And the fact that like anything in that hallway could have happened, and they just right in front of your face, suddenly it was the biggest jump scare because you did not see it coming. I like both choices, but I think mine was the bigger jump scare because it looked like real life and it came out of nowhere. End of my sentence. I
Okay.
gave myself 3 seconds.
God damn it, Richard. All right, Joe, you get 1 minute when you start talking.
The reason the jump scare in it works better is because it's that slow build up. It's not just a scene of nothing. It's building up the creepiness. And that's what you think it is. You think it's one of those, because it's not just a movie about jump scares like Paranormal Activity is, which is just shot of an empty room or something, and then there's a jump scare. It is very different. It builds the horror in many different ways. You get the stuff with Georgie at the beginning, and then you get the scenes throughout where Pennywise is sort of tormenting and introducing himself to these kids. And this is where you get them all together. And you think it's just that build-up of that, oh my God, he's changing his image, he can appear anywhere. Then he pops out. That's the difference, is that you think it's one type of scare scene and then it throws in a different type of scare scene. I think that's the benefit. The problem with a lot of horror movies nowadays is they throw in jump scares for the sake of having jump scares. This one doesn't just work as a jump scare, it works for the plot because it scares the characters as well. And that's the point of Pennywise, is to make these kids feel fear. Not only does he make the kids feel fear, he makes us as an audience feel fear. And that's what he's going to be able to feed on. I think that's the benefit of the scene. I think that's why it works better.
Time. This is one of those moments where I just like wanted to come in and fight too, because I had so many opinions. Okay.
I'm not a huge horror guy, so this was really tough for me. So, like, this was a good fight. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I like both these picks, but when you brought up the It there being a scarier one in It Chapter 2, the first thing I thought of was like, oh, if we're gonna play that game, like the scene in Paranormal Activity 2 where all the kitchen cabinets like explode, like that is like the best jump scare ever. Anyway, Mark, you're going first.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't think I consider myself a big horror guy, but I do enjoy it. Yeah, I'll just go. I'm never good at leading up to this. I went with Joe. I think my main I feel like there was more kind of as Joe was kind of going through the scene. I think there was more dread. He kind of explained more dread and more tension that had been built up in his scene, to where like we're kind of seeing this stuff and like everything's just kind of building up, and then Pennywise just jumps out. And I feel like, at least with, I think what I got with Richard's scene, like I think Joe did a decent job of kind of hitting back at that, because at the end of the movie, we kind of know what's coming. We know at least something's coming. Like we're pretty sure like it's just not going to end happy. And I feel like at least with Joe's scene, I think he did a better job explaining why I think that scene built up better to the scare than I think Richard did.
Okay. I'll go next. I also went with Joe, and it was actually Mark kind of stole the words right out of my mouth. Like I think that in this instance, Joe bringing in the fact that the scare is not only a good scare, making it the best, but it's also the best for the characters and moving the plot forward and everything. I thought that really worked. Again, as someone who is a big fan of both of these movies, actually, it more than Paranormal Activity. That one's more of a guilty pleasure, but I think that both are excellent scares. And I vividly remember seeing each of them for the first time. So I think they were very good picks, but I do think that Joe did a better job of building up, not only in the story, but the physical scare itself. And I thought that Richard started to lose me towards the end. Like it was pretty 50-50, but he actually started to lose me towards the end when he was talking about like how the camera's on the thing for like 15 seconds or whatever, and then he pops out and Joe was like, it's the same thing in yours, like 30 seconds. Like, what are we doing? Like, so that didn't really work for me all that much. But again, I think excellent picks and really well thought, but Joe won it for me in the end. So Brian, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
This was super easy for me, and that's even putting aside my own feelings that Paranormal Activities don't have a single scary movie in them entirely. I did go for Joe. I think that he just did a better job of explaining, like you said, how it feels like it's part of the story, it's part of the characters, it's paced, it's set up. Whereas in Paranormal Activity, it just feels essentially tacked on to the end, which honestly it was, because they added that later on because test audiences thought it wasn't scary enough. So
it's true.
To be fair, I usually mess up this point because I would usually synopsis the whole movie without getting to my point, so I try a different tactic.
The original ending isn't that bad either. It's fine.
And
it's
also,
not...
no one brought that up, so that shouldn't even be in someone's mind.
All right, so we are moving on to comedy.
Okay.
Drafted by Richard. Yes. And the question or statement, depending on how you look at it, is we're talking about Harold and Kumar, and we're going to have you guys pitch a fourth Harold and Kumar film. Oh, man, where's Jack Pinchuk when you need him? All right, so Richard, we're kicking it off with you. Richard, you have 1 minute to open your argument or your pitch when you start talking.
At the end of Harold and Kumar Christmas, the third movie, it was revealed that both not only Kumar is going to have a baby, but also Harold's going to have a baby. So I figure, what better way for the fourth movie to have Harold and Kumar go on a family vacation? So in the opening scene, it's going to have, Harold, Maria and Vanessa giving birth at the same time, roughly the same time, or having the baby with different shots, and then it'll go jump years later during the current day, where everyone in the whole family is exhausted, but they decide they're going to go on a family vacation. Now I'm going to bring Harold and Kumar, Vanessa, and Maria. It's going to also bring I think Maria's father is going to be in there for fun, and they're going to go on vacation. They're going to see, go on vacation. I don't know the exact destination yet, but I was just pitching the idea. And I think obviously, Neil Patrick Harris is going to be in it. I think the Goldstein, their friends are going to be in it. It's going to be a lot of fun and
Time. All right, Joe, we're going to move over to you. Joe, you have 1 minute to pitch your movie when you start talking.
2024 is actually the 20th anniversary of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. So I figure, even though they sort of half swore off weed at the end of the last one, I think they get to go recreate their journey, a one-off, just a one-off, so we don't really undo that development they went through. Only problem, someone's been buying up all the weed. So eventually they find themselves at Cocksmokers, Jay and Silent Bob's weed and chicken shop. Because you know what? It's in New Jersey. Harold and Kumar also live in New Jersey. So together, they go there. Guess what? Weed's all gone too. So they're together, the four of them set out to find out who has been doing this. Spoilers, it's Neil Patrick Harris. And I think this is going to be great. We get a road trip movie, which is what Harold and Kumar have always been about. It's about them going on a journey and going around, whether it be a town or whether it be going across America, all that sort of stuff. I think that's important to it. But it also works for the Jay and Silent Bob characters too, because that's what they did in Strike Back. That's what they did in that. And I think that's going to work.
Time.
More.
All right. 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
I'll let you go first because you let me go
I
first
think-
last one.
You got, all the families and all that, and then throwing in. I think you got maybe there's just one or two too many characters going on this journey. It's still got to be about Harold and Kumar. So we're gonna have to focus that journey first on them going around New Jersey, and then eventually finding themselves with Jay and Silent Bob. I think that's what's going to work best because it's the 20th anniversary. You've got to do something special. Stoners of the world unite.
Okay, you're saying it should be just about Harold and Kumar, but you're bringing in two of the biggest
Mostly.
icons when it comes to movies, Jay and Silent Bob. They're going to overshadow Harold and Kumar.
I mean, only one of them
completely.
speaks.
Okay, yeah, but their presence in themselves, like any of the Kevin Smith films, the main attraction of those films have always been Jay and Silent Bob, and it needs to feel like a Harold and Kumar movie. Whereas in my movie, it's going to keep Harold and Kumar, but also how do I for this? Maria and Vanessa, they didn't get much screen time in the first three films. I feel like they deserve more screen time because they've been part of the first three films, and you can keep the core characters of the Harold and Kumar films. Whereas if you put Jay and Silent Bob in your film for Harold and Kumar, the Phantom Realignment is just going to be about people are going to focus more on Jay and Silent Bob than Harold and Kumar.
But it's not. That's the point. It's still going to focus on Harold and Kumar. That was the point of it. It's about them going on this journey together and eventually finding themselves there and working as a foursome to take down Neil Patrick Harris, buying up all the weed, getting together and then at the end, this is the thing. It's the 20th anniversary. It's about them recreating that journey they had 20 years ago and about how they went on this crazy adventure and met these crazy characters and these crazy people. That's the beauty of it. Is they still get to go on this journey, recreate that. Jay and Silent Bob, they go off, they have their burgers at movies at the end, and then you get Harold and Kumar back in that White Castle.
You're saying the 20th anniversary, but it would be more casual for 20th anniversary to keep it with the core characters. And my biggest pitch in this movie is gonna be Neil Patrick Harris shows up, and he's gonna volunteer to watch the kids, not even the babies, the kids. They're gonna be 7 or 8 in my film, and so they can go out, and so eventually they're gonna go out, and then somehow they're gonna end up in a strip club where you see Neil Patrick Harris is just there with the kids. It'll be a hysterical scene. And whereas like I said about Jay and Silent Bob and head-to-head, they're gonna overshadow Harold and Kumar. And because audience are gonna wonder, is other Jay and Silent Bob characters going to be in the Harold and Kumar film, which is going to completely take away from the Harold and Kumar film, because it needs to be about Harold and Kumar and the universe that it's itself in.
I think the viewer skew universe, it does have its audience, but I think Harold and Kumar is much bigger when it comes to the mainstream. And also, if you think after the last 3 movies that they are even going to consider leaving their kids with Neil Patrick Harris, a drug escapade, a whorehouse, and I'm not even going to mention some of the stuff that Neil Patrick gets onto in the third one because my God. So they're not even going to consider that. So you can throw that idea out straight away.
No, you're throwing that idea out, but they kept on doing it. The first one, the second one, and the third one. So they're not going to learn from the mistakes. You just said it yourself. They're going to keep on doing it.
The thing is, they came across him accidentally by going into a theater in the third one. And what did they want to do? They wanted to get the hell out of there. And that's
Life
exactly
is random,
what
my friend. Go on. No, keep going. So I just want to
they
say
they got the hell out of there with their waffle bot, and that's the point. And I think you can bring in things like that, things from the series. This is a 20th anniversary celebration. Two of the most iconic stoners of the 21st century, to bring them in that. And at the end, you could throw in a Cheech and Chong at the end. You can do all this to celebrate that. It's about them going on this journey like they've always done.
Like, if you wanted to bring in like other group people besides Kumar, I think the Broken Lizard cast would have been a much better fit, because it's also a more suitable. Like, they have similar comedy. That's another thing about Jay and Silent Bob and Harold and Kumar. Jay and Silent Bob curses a lot throughout the film. Harold and Kumar curses a little bit, but not as much as Jay and Silent Bob does. And I don't think their comedy mesh well together. Whereas in my film, you're going to keep with the core characters, and you're going to get more of Vanessa, more Maria, even more of Maria's father, which was so funny in the third film. I think more of the interaction. You can even add in Wafflebot. I think you need to keep the Harold and Kumar universe by itself and just add on, instead of adding on some random people from another movie that's going to overshadow Harold and Kumar.
I think you've got to do something that stays true to the trilogy we've had so far, and that is them going on a journey. It's not them going to one place, it's about the journey of them getting to that place, and that is what this movie is. And it's about the people they meet. It's about the people they meet along the way. You can steal my Wafflebot idea if you like. That's absolutely fine. Right? This is something that plays to the audience. Crossovers work when they serve the story. They both these duos live in New Jersey. They both indulge in weed, and I think that's why.
If you want to keep true to the characters, don't add in someone who's more popular than them to be in there.
Time. Okay. We are going to start this with Joe. So, Joe, you get 1 minute to close your argument when you start talking.
I think when you're making a fourth film in a franchise, especially if we do it this year, like we're talking about doing it this year, 2024, this is the 20th anniversary, you've got to do something that stays true to the characters and stays true to what came before. And what came before was a road trip movie. And that is what I'm pitching here. It's about them going on that journey. I'm saying you put Jay and Silent Bob in it. I'm not talking about having them in for the entire movie. It's about them meeting along the way and going forward. You throw in Neil Patrick Harris, which you have to do it in a Harold and Kumar movie, but you keep these characters in the place they've been before. You do what's familiar to the audience. You do something, and it's about Harold and Kumar. You're celebrating not just Harold and Kumar, but you're celebrating the culture around them. That's why you bring in these characters. It's why you have them do a whole new journey, but you keep it true to what went before. You can, by doing what Rich is proposing, you are just putting them in a location, and we're not really talking about what they're doing. What I have pitched here is a story. I have pitched why they're doing it, how they're going to go about it.
Time. All right. We're going to go over to Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I'm talking about a family vacation. Could be a road trip. It could be in flight, but I want to keep the core characters together. I want to bring in more of Maria, more of Vanessa, more of Maria's father. Keep the core characters alive. What Joe is proposing is to bring in one of the two most iconic duos and bring them into the movie that's going to overshadow Harold and Kumar. And look, I love the idea, but at the same time, their comedies do not match. I think the Broken Lizard cast is much suitable if you want to go in that direction, but I want to keep the Harold and Kumar fourth movie to the cast in their own universe. Keep it more simple. Keep it funny. I want more of Maria, more of Vanessa, even more of Neil Patrick Harris. I want more of the Harold and Kumar that we remember in this fourth film and make it even better. He just wants to bring in two popular people that's going to overshadow the whole movie, the fourth movie. Even if it was a slightly cameo, people are going to want, where's Jay and Silent Bob? And that's going to take away from the Harold and Kumar film. The end.
Okay. All right. All right. I see Brian's ready. Mark, how about you? Okay, Brian, you're kicking this off.
I voted Joe on this one again. I just felt like he did a much better job of fleshing out, what his movie was going to be. He gave us details. He gave us, who the antagonist is, what the object of it is, details such as the cock smokers. Now they're all in New Jersey, things like that. Richard, I felt his was way too vague. I mean, he's talking about going on vacation, but he himself said, I don't know what the destination will be. It might be a road trip, might be a flight. Maybe this person's in it. Maybe that character's in it. There's a whole lot of vague, like there wasn't a whole lot of detail to his concept, to his pitch. So I didn't really get sold on that. And as far as his attacks on Joe's, his big thing was that Jay and Silent Bob would overshadow it, and I didn't buy that at all. And because, as Joe pointed out in his debate, the crossovers work when it serves the story, and here he had a story that really involved both of them.
Mark, you're going next.
Yeah. You go to you, Tim. I went with Richard on this one. I think at least it's weird just because I ended up going with Richard just because I am kind of with him that because Joe brought in we're gonna bring in Jay and Silent Bob, maybe Cheech and Chong show up, and I'm like, well, and I think my own I kind of just because I'm wondering if this is still like a Harold and Kumar film, and I feel like even though I think Richard's movie I wasn't 100% sure where Richard's movie is going, I feel like at least Richard had a Harold and Kumar film in here.
Okay. I don't like being the deciding factor. I thought I was gonna just get to be like, hey, I went with Joe. I usually decide these pitch ones by what movie I would rather see based on the pitches given. And I should preface, I hate View Askew. Do not care for it at all. Don't like Jay and Silent Bob. Not a fan. Like Kevin Smith, but not as a filmmaker as much. More as like a personality. And so, yeah, but I thought that Joe's pitch was really interesting, and I agree with Brian. I thought that he brought a lot of interesting ideas up. I do agree that the let's throw in Cheech and Chong and stuff like that was a weird thing. I didn't like that, but I thought he did enough otherwise, a lot of heavy work. And I actually like Richard's pitch, but it didn't sound fun to me. It was they go on a trip and Neil Patrick Harris is there. He might babysit. You'll bring in some characters and it'll be fun. And I was like, well, it doesn't sound that fun. It sounds like watered down Harold and Kumar, whereas Joe's sounded fun to me, despite the fact that it features a universe that will never be in fandom. So
give me more than 2 weeks, I'll come with something better. I did this for 2 weeks.
So Joe wins that one, and that means we are moving on to the final prep question. Richard does need to hit this in order to stay in it and send it to the bonus. So the question comes in the category of criminal underworld. The question is, who is the coolest villain in a criminal underworld film? Joe, you get to kick this one off. 1 minute when you start talking.
Let's establish what a villain is. A villain is someone whose goal works in direct opposite to the goal of our antagonist, our hero. And that is, for me, the hero is John Wick. The villain is Kane, played masterfully by the wonderful and amazing Donnie Yen in John Wick Chapter 4. This guy just oozes cool. Donnie Yen himself oozes cool, which is already a big stepping point towards why Kane is so cool. This is someone who is just out and out badass. He looks cool, he oozes cool, and then not only that, the things he does is cool. You've got all these amazing sort of martial arts that Donnie Yen brings in himself, which he brings to Kane and helps bring Kane to life. Kane stays cool because by the end of the movie, throughout the movie, and by the end of the movie, you are still rooting. Even though he is the villain and working direct opposite to what our hero is doing, you still don't want Kane to lose. You may not want him to win, but you don't want him to lose.
Time. Okay. We're going to bring in Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I agree. A villain needs to be able to oppose the hero. But also what I think the coolest villain needs to be, someone who believes in their motivation, someone who believes in what they're doing, someone who can talk the talk and walk the walk. And that is no better than Fate and the Furious 7, Fast and the Furious, Deckard Shaw. He went toe to toe with the whole crew, with Dom, the rest of the family. And I'm going to go more and more. It's just when you're talking about the coolest villain, who has the swag, who has the fighting ability, who has the belief, who has the capability, it is Deckard Shaw. And I can see the rest of my time.
Belief, yeah. The
Sorry,
capability.
I meant to come in. I didn't.
Sorry.
You guys get 5 minutes. My apologies. Go ahead.
Oh, we got this.
The belief,
Go on, you can.
the belief, yeah. The capability, sure. But does he complete the job? No. Fails. That's not
So
cool.
does yours.
I'm sorry.
Your guy failed to do the job too.
What was his job?
To kill John Wick.
What happens at the end of the film?
It wasn't because of what he did, because he was still alive. But let me tell you about why yours is not the greatest
He
villain.
shot John Wick dead and saved his daughter.
Yeah, he didn't want to be there the whole time. He had no motivation to be there. He was holding back the entire movie.
No motivation. Saving a daughter is not motivation.
There was no motivation. He was holding back the whole time. He was moping around. And also, we've seen the blind martial artist before in other movies. Rogue One, which also starred Donnie Yen. This is something he's done before. It's not original. Daredevil. Eye for an Eye. Blind Fury. There's been so many movies where we've seen the blind martial artists.
You hurt my family, I want revenge on you, because we've not seen that before.
We haven't seen in the Fast and Furious movies someone who can go toe-to-toe without any goons. He killed Han before you say that he came back to the 10th.
He recruited an entire group of terrorists, but sure, no goons.
That was one scene.
He still did it.
And so your guy had a bunch of group, but it was for one scene, and that was.
I never.
He didn't even need it.
I never put that as a positive. You did.
Yeah, but at the same time, you need someone who's cool. You're basing it based on martial artists. Like it's everyone in the John Wick universe does martial arts. We had in the previous film someone who was deaf who was able to do the same martial arts as Donnie Yen's character.
But I think the difference is it's not just about the martial arts. It's not just about it. It's about the way the character is done. The thing is, you want Dom's crew to beat Deckard, sure. What makes Donnie Yen as Kane so cool is that by the end of the movie, you might not want John Wick to lose, but you don't want Kane to lose either.
Then that doesn't make him a villain. That makes him an anti-hero, if anything.
He's working. I've just said he's working in direct opposite to the hero. That's what makes him the villain.
But not by his choice. He was holding back. He wasn't even trying to kill John Wick. He was just biding his time.
He killed John.
Even John Wick helped Kane in the almost the last part of the movie up the stairwell. Like they were pretty much working together.
He's just that.
Deckard Shaw took out Han before, in the movie. You thought Han was dead. He blew up Dom's house. He's always cool and collective. He was never afraid. When Dom brought the wrench or the pipe, he's like, you brought a pipe to a gunfight. He was smart. He was the smartest. I think the coolest villain needs to be able to stay cool and collective, be able to think of brilliant, always be on top of. He was toe-to-toe with them with racing. He was toe-to-toe with them in fighting. He took out Hobbs. In fighting style, he was matched. He's even matched with charisma. Donnie Yen did not really have any charisma. The most charisma I saw in John Wick 4 is when he told the main bad guy to fuck off at the end. That was it.
Donnie Yen oozes cool throughout that movie. Not only does he manage to stay toe-to-toe with John Wick, like you say Deckard does with the whole of Dom's crew, he managed to do it despite not having any use of his sight whatsoever. That's what makes him cool. Like he takes what some would see as a disadvantage, turns it into his advantage. That's the benefit. Here's the thing, right? Talking about cool. We're talking about cool. You know what's cool? Doing what you need to do for your family and succeeding at it. You know what? Kane had family.
That's honorable, not cool.
Kane has family, succeeded. Dom has family.
In the John Wick universe can
Deckard has family.
Have the same motivations. Like I said, Ruby Rose's character was deaf. And I think being deaf is a lot harder than being blind because you can be able to see, but you can't hear everywhere around. Whereas when you're blind, you can at least hear everywhere around. And if you're trained in being blind, that's a bigger advantage than being deaf. So I don't even think that's more original. And Donnie Yen also played the exact same character in Rogue One. And he had more charisma in Rogue One than he did in John Wick Chapter 4. Like, I'm surprised he didn't say, I'm the table. The table's one with me.
Jason Statham plays the same character.
Jason Statham
plays the same character in any movie he does. So we can just erase that. The difference being, Donnie Yen...
He was never played a villain the same way he did. No. Name when was he a villain other than this?
I'm not saying a villain. I'm talking about someone...
That's the point. It's the coolest villain. We're talking about villain. We're not talking about character. I'm talking about...
You look at Guy Ritchie's last... You look at the movie he did with Guy Ritchie. You look at the way, someone hurt my family and now I have to go out for revenge. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same as in that. The difference is in this movie he fails. Do you know why? Because he's not.
Deckard Shaw was able to go toe-to-toe with Dom with racing, fighting, and talking. Donnie did not do all three in that movie.
He didn't go toe to toe.
His motivation, he was sluggish throughout the whole film. He held back the entire film. If he wanted to kill John Wick, he didn't even try to kill John Wick. John Wick didn't even try to kill him. I don't think being a coolest villain, the coolest villain needs to be the hero wants to kill the villain and the villain wants to kill the hero. There was none of that in your movie.
Time. Okay. We're gonna go to Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Look, I will say Joe's pick is valid. He was technically a villain. He opposed the hero. But when the whole movie is when he is holding back, when Kane is holding back, not even trying to hurt the other person, it's not really a cool thing. When you think of cool villains, you want to think of a villain trying his hardest, trying to do the best to defeat the hero. And that is what Deckard Shaw did in Fast and Furious. He did everything he could. He fought Dom. He outplayed Dom multiple times. He outraced Dom multiple times throughout the film. I don't think Kane was cool. Like seeing martial arts in a fighting film, it is fun to watch. But when you're not even trying, when the character's motivation is not even trying, it's not as cool as someone who is actually trying. And even when Deckard Shaw did lose at the end of Fast and he was cool and collective. He knew that he was going to be able to get out of there. And eventually in the future films, I mean, he was so cool, they brought him back in the future films. Can you say the same about, is there going to be a John Wick 5 with him? No. I can see the rest of my time.
Okay. We're going to move over to Joe. Joe, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Who's the coolest character in Rogue One? It's Chewie Inway. Right? It's a blind, badass warrior. And that's exactly what Donnie Yen is here. And the difference is here, he is the villain. He is working in direct opposite to the hero's goal. And you say, oh, he takes time, he's holding back. Do you know what? That's what makes him cool. He bides his time. He knows what he is doing. He's doing what he needs to do to succeed, which is what he does in the end. Every single thing he does throughout that movie is part of his goal to succeed, because he knows he also needs to get out and get his daughter safe. So he waits and he bides his time. He uses what the hero does, and he uses it eventually against him to kill John Wick. You know, the Fast and Furious movie establishes, like you, and you said it yourself, that Dom is cool. He held the call with Dom. And do you know what Dom is all about? Dom is all about family. Family makes him succeed. Family also makes Kane succeed. Do you know what family didn't do? It did not make Deckard Shaw succeed. In any establishment, in your movie or in mine, about what makes them cool, it makes Kane cool, but not Shaw.
Okay. All right. Other judges ready?
Yep.
Great picks. Deckard Shaw is like probably my favorite villain in the Fast franchise. I thought that Donnie Yen's character in John Wick was fucking awesome. So like, excuse me. I've been up for a long time. I thought both were good picks. And I thought that both did a good job of explaining to me why their character was cool. So they both convinced me cool. I had to kind of take the attacks then on the other ones to find out who I was going to go with. And at the end, Joe had convinced me more so that Donnie Yen, who's Kane, I couldn't think of it for a second, had just a couple one-ups on Deckard. So that was tough. It was tough for me, but I went with Joe. Brian.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty good debate on both sides, although there was an awful lot of interrupting and over talking. So
There was.
please don't do that in the future. But I mean, it was kind of came down to, I think that if the question was who was like the best villain or more successful villain in what they were trying to do, I think I would have leaned the other way. But in terms of coolness, I actually felt that Joe did a better job of convincing me why his character was cool, whether it be because of the motivations or just the way he acted and the way he carried himself. There's just a little bit more to it.
Okay. And Mark, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Yeah, I also would have went Joe. I kind of agree with most of what you guys said. I think also it really did it for me. I think Joe's attacks, I think, were pretty well too. I think as and more we talked about Deckard Shaw, I think at some point, like Joe brought up how Statham kind of plays the same character in every movie, which I thought was a pretty good SWAT. And I think kind of like you guys say, I think he just did a good job explaining why he was a good foil to the main character in John Wick, and how like he kind of elevated every scene that he was in. Kind of also made you want to root for him too. So yeah.
All right. Well, that means your winner is Joe Farrelly. We are going to get into post-match interviews. We are going to start by talking to Richard. Richard, great match tonight. I can see you're disappointed, but completely understandable. Joe's a tough opponent, man. And I think you played really, really well. Clean sweep against Joe is not something easy to come by. And then the one after that, I believe, was a split decision. So this was a close one, even though it didn't go to the bonus round. But how are you feeling?
Felt good. I feel a little bad still, but I slowed it down as much as I could. But at the same time, the last question kind of heated me up a little bit. I had regulations against this last question for his choice, but it's accepted. It's fine. But I got flustered, and so I had some good points that I left out, unfortunately. But it was fun. Joe's a great player, and I had a blast, and I hope I get to come back and do it again.
Well, absolutely, Richard.
The more I do it, the more I improve on it.
We'll definitely be having you back, Richard. If not in the before Mayhem, definitely post Mayhem. We'll get you back for another match this year. So great job tonight, Richard. I look forward to seeing you back again. But we are going to go over to Joe. Joe, you got to win. You're 500 now, and you're moving on to another match. First off, before we get into that, thoughts on how you played tonight?
Yeah, you can go in sort of as prepared as you want, and then you get hit by a clean sweep in the first round, and you go like, okay, I've got some work to do. So I think that sort of gives you the kick up the arse you need sometimes to just double down.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, like I said, this does mean you're moving on. You're going to be playing the winner of the match that happened 2 weeks ago. Peek behind the curtain, we haven't shot it yet, so we don't know who it is, but you are going to be playing either Jack Pinchuk or Brooklyn Vale. Thoughts on either of them?
Obviously, I know Jack a lot more because of stuff around sort of Rogue Nation and stuff like that. I've never really been on stream with Brooklyn, so that actually might be a little bit more fun just sort of to get an idea of how somebody else plays. Obviously, I work a lot with Jack and stuff we do. So yeah, either way, I think I'll be quite happy with that. Just no more pitch questions. My writing is questions on what other people have created. I don't create.
That's fair. Well, Joe, I look forward to seeing whoever you play next. We'll see you on the next one, and let's get final thoughts starting with Mark.
I know, yeah, this was a good match. Both kind of came out fighting. I think I each got a clean sweep. It was just kind of it's just kind of those little things I think just went Joe's way today.
Yeah, and Brian, final thoughts from you.
First, I want to say I love pitch questions. They're my favorite questions. And as much as he says he's not creative, I thought he had a great pitch. I want to see that movie. But as far as the debate, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like you said, I mean, we say it all the time, but this one was closer than it looks, especially when you had early sweep by Richard. And I will just add that I also love all these new categories. We get to hear something different now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. I want to thank Brian and Mark for judging. Thank you to Richard and Joe for playing, and we'll see you in a couple weeks with another great match. But until then, have a great night. We'll see you next time. Bye.
There we go. Thank you very much. Please come again. We have a lot more groceries.